Chapter 1, Seeds of Awareness. School days. Aryan wasn't born into privilege, nor did he possess genius-level intellect. He was the definition of average, blending into school corridors where only toppers or troublemakers got noticed. But during a casual economics class, a single phrase from his teacher, "If you understand how to grow money slowly, you'll never have to chase it," lodged itself firmly in Aryan's mind. While his peers saved pocket money for gadgets or weekend outings, Aryan began asking his father simple questions. What's interest? How do banks grow money? His father, a clerk with limited means but honest habits, introduced him to the concept of saving, not as deprivation, but as paying your future self first. By the time Aryan finished school, he wasn't richer than his friends, but he carried a rare awareness that wealth wasn't about what you flaunted at 20, but what quietly accumulated by 40. Chapter 2, First Paycheck. First lesson. Landing his first job as a junior analyst in a small firm, Aryan's salary was modest, just enough to cover rent, food, and a few weekend treats. While his colleagues celebrated payday with shopping sprees and Emmy plans, Aryan opened a recurring deposit, RD, putting aside a small fixed amount, not because he had extra, but because he understood he'd never have extra unless he started now. A chance encounter with a senior introduced him to mutual funds, and though the idea of investing in markets felt risky, Aryan realized that risk wasn't in investing, it was in not starting early. With 500 rupees systematic investment plan, Aryan began his journey, not waiting for a higher salary, but trusting in time as his biggest ally. Each month, as peers upgraded phones, Aryan upgraded his portfolio discipline, knowing that small, consistent steps outrun occasional sprints. Chapter 3, The Power of Compounding begins. As years passed, Aryan's salary grew slowly, but his investments began to whisper louder, showing returns that outpaced any bank savings account his friends boasted about. While others chased short-term gains, crypto hypes, penny stocks, Aryan stuck to his balanced mix: mutual funds, a bit of index equity, some gold ETFs, and his emergency fund. He wasn't chasing riches, he was building a financial engine where compounding did the heavy lifting while he focused on his career and life. When his friends laughed at his boring strategy, Aryan smiled, because he knew compounding wasn't exciting, it was inevitable if given patience. By his late 20s, Aryan saw a comforting truth: while talent and luck fluctuated, disciplined investing quietly turned average earnings into growing wealth. Chapter 4, Resisting Lifestyle. Inflation. Promotions came, and with them, temptations: fancier cars, luxury rentals, expensive vacations, but Aryan treated every raise as a chance to increase investments, not expenses. While his peers upgraded their lifestyles with EMIs, Aryan upgraded his SIP contributions, knowing that freedom tomorrow was worth more than status today. He allowed himself comforts but avoided falling into the trap where expenses rose as fast as income, a discipline few noticed but one that made all the difference. His golden rule was simple: spend what's left after investing, not invest what's left after spending. By 35, Aryan wasn't the flashiest guy at reunions, but quietly, he was the one who could afford to walk away from his job if he wished, and that was a luxury no car could match. Chapter 5, Market Crashes and Patience. When markets crashed in a global downturn, panic gripped everyone, WhatsApp groups flooded with fear, and many of Aryan's friends pulled out their investments at a loss. Aryan, however, saw what his early lessons had taught him: crashes weren't endings, they were opportunities dressed in fear. Instead of withdrawing, he continued his SIPs and even added more, buying when prices were low, trusting that markets, like life, recover for those patient enough to endure. Months turned into years, and as markets rebounded, Aryan's portfolio didn't just recover, it surged ahead, rewarding his calm amidst chaos. That period taught him perhaps the most valuable financial lesson: wealth isn't built by avoiding storms, but by standing firm through them. Chapter 6, Midlife milestones achieved by his early 40s, Aryan had ticked off goals that many thought required high salaries or lucky breaks: owning a debt-free home, a well-funded retirement corpus, and a portfolio that worked harder than he did. His mutual funds, steady equity holdings, and strategic gold investments provided not just security, but options. Aryan could now choose projects he enjoyed, not ones he was forced into for a paycheck. While peers battled Emmy burdens and job stress, Aryan embraced a balanced life, traveling modestly, pursuing hobbies, and watching his investments quietly grow in the background. His success wasn't loud, it was the quiet confidence of knowing that money was no longer a daily worry, but a silent ally ensuring his future stayed bright. When asked his secret, Aryan simply replied, "I didn't chase wealth. I partnered with time, and time never loses." Chapter 7, Teaching the Next Generation. Aryan believed true wealth wasn't just measured in rupees, but in wisdom shared, so when his nephew got his first internship, Aryan gifted him, not cash, but a mutual fund SIP account. Over weekend chats, he explained compounding, diversification, and why starting early mattered more than chasing high returns. His family and younger colleagues soon turned to him for advice, and Aryan took pride not in showing off wealth, but in demystifying money for those willing to listen. He stressed that anyone, with any salary, could achieve financial freedom if they respected two things: discipline and time. Watching the next generation take their first steps into investing, Aryan felt richer than ever, knowing his legacy wasn't just numbers on a screen, but lives changed by simple, powerful habits. Chapter 8, Financial Freedom, Not Retirement. Unlike many who counted days to retirement, Aryan never dreamed of doing nothing. Instead, he embraced financial freedom as the ability to work on what mattered, without worrying about income. He left his corporate job in his early 50s, not because he had to, but because he wanted to explore consulting, volunteering, and passion projects that paid in satisfaction, not just money. His investments, now spanning blue-chip stocks, diversified mutual funds, and some safe debt instruments, provided a steady flow of passive income covering all his needs and more. Aryan's days were filled with purpose, not just leisure, proving that true wealth wasn't early retirement, it was control over time and choices. While many still chased promotions, Aryan spent his mornings in peace, knowing he had quietly achieved what most only dreamed of: freedom without fear. Chapter 9, Weathering Storms in Old Age. Life, as Aryan knew, wasn't predictable, and in his 60s, unexpected medical expenses and economic downturns tested the very foundation he'd built. But unlike many retirees who scrambled during crises, Aryan's emergency fund, health insurance, and conservative portfolio allocation absorbed the shocks with ease. Years of preparation meant that even in uncertainty, Aryan's lifestyle remained stable. He didn't have to sell assets in panic or compromise his dignity. His golden years weren't spent worrying about hospital bills or inflation, they were spent enjoying simple pleasures, knowing that prudence in youth protected peace in old age. Sitting in his garden, Aryan often reflected that true financial success wasn't about avoiding problems, but about ensuring they never became catastrophes. Chapter 10, The Legacy of Smart Choices. As Aryan crossed into his twilight years, he wasn't remembered for flashy success but for living life on his terms, rich not just in wealth, but in wisdom and freedom. His investments outlived his working years, funding causes he cared about, supporting family dreams, and ensuring that no one around him feared money the way so many did. More than his portfolio, Aryan left behind a mindset, a belief that average income, when paired with discipline and patience, could create extraordinary outcomes. On his 75th birthday, surrounded by family, Aryan watched his grandniece excitedly talk about her first sip, and he smiled, knowing his true legacy was secure. For in a world obsessed with shortcuts, Aryan's life stood as quiet proof that slow, steady, and smart always wins the race. Conclusion. That's the complete story of Aryan, an ordinary man who achieved extraordinary financial freedom through simple, disciplined investing. It highlights every key principle: start early, stay consistent. Respect compounding and patience. Avoid lifestyle inflation. Diversify smartly: mutual funds, equity, gold, debt. Prepare for storms with emergency funds and insurance. Focus on freedom, not flashy wealth. Pass on knowledge as the greatest legacy.